Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. And I specifically want to address the victory lap that I think the OSR is taking right now, based on the incredible video from Ben from Questing Beast that came out. And so basically, the OSR, in my humble opinion, is taking a victory lap on the D&D 5e community, specifically on the question of Dungeon Masters. Because Ben from Questing Beast, he just slammed down pancake stacks of truth in this video, linked below. And he said the D&D 5e community it has an expectation from a dungeon master that they are a reference book, that they know the rules inside and out, that they are an epic storyteller, and that they are a life coach, right? He's 100% correct. Matthew Mercer has set this bar for 7 years now, right? He is absolutely a reference book. He literally is a D&D canon hardback writer. He is an epic storyteller. That's not a debatable fact. Just listen to any, just spin the dial on Critical Role, and you're going to hear an epic story, right? On any of literally 1,000 podcasts and shows, right? Like, not a joke. They literally have 1,000, right? Like, it's incredible, right? And then life coach, whoo, man, has he been life coaching the heck out of his people, right? So, like, if you're a player of Matthew Mercer, your love life is improved, and or your bank account has improved, and you've become, your hair is shinier, you talk better, you've been life coached to the nth degree by Matthew Mercer. And he's like, hey, if you at this table, get good, not at the game, but at life, right? Like, and he's helped them in 100 different ways, right? Also, I did want to address something. OGGM recently did a video, and he said, you should go get a therapist. A life coach and a therapist are not even remotely the same thing, right? A therapist is for people who perceive that they're broken and need to be fixed. Life coaches were specifically invented because the world was like, you know what? I'm tired of paying $200 to have somebody ask questions to my questions, and I'm super tired of every third question being about my mother, and I'm not getting what I need from this therapist. So why don't I get somebody who's going to coach me, right? Somebody who's going to help me score points on the field of life. And that's the way to understand a life coach. A life coach is really it's just like a sports coach, but to excel in life, right? Not somebody to talk to you about your perception that you're broken. A life coach is like, let's master life and get stuff done and crush it, right? Like, and that's what a life coach is. And they were invented, in my humble opinion, clearly because people were like, you know what, therapy really ain't doing nothing for me, right? Like, I come here, I give you $200 an hour, you ask me a bunch of questions, and every third question's about my mother, and then when I'm like, hey, this doesn't work, then you're like, well, it's going to take 8 to 24 months of you paying me $200 an hour, right? And so people got sick of it, and that's why a life coach came out, right? And I've already done a video explaining exactly how and why D&D 5e people are fantastic selections for life coaches, right? And so the reality is, if you perceive that you're broken, 100%, OGGM is right. Go get yourself a therapist. Go get yourself a psychologist. Have fun paying $200 an hour for them to talk about how broken you are and answer your questions with your questions, right? Go have fun with that, right? Like, but if you are not if you do not perceive yourself as broken, and you're just like, hey man, I put up 2 points last year, and this year I want to put up 20. You need a life coach, right? And then frankly, a life coach is, in my humble opinion, anybody who knows more about life than you. And guess what? Your dungeon master almost certainly knows more about life than you if you're a player, okay? Because if you knew more than him, you'd be the dungeon master, right? Selection. There you go. All right, so here's the issue, okay? So basically, the OSR is taking this victory lap and going, yeah, there's no shortage of dungeon masters here. Ha ha ha, you D&D 5th edition people, you got a shortage of dungeon masters. Now, to be clear, this is the second video that I've had to reshoot because Gibson was like, you need to check your noise, Scott. You're a little too flagrant right now. And I was like, yeah, okay, I get it, right? So this is me step back on this issue. So here's the issue, right? My first video, I kind of made fun of OSR for meeting their quota, and it was going to explain why the D&D 5e community is not meeting its dungeon master quota, right? But now I'm not going to make fun of OSR. I'm going to point out the irony of the OSR's victory lap, okay? So let's talk about it. Why is the OSR is coming, and lots of OSR agents have come out and said, hey, look, we're meeting our quota, right? And look at you guys, you can't meet your quota. Well, let's talk about that, right? Why is the OSR meeting its Dungeon Master quota and the Dungeons & Dragons 5e community is not? Right, here you go. All right, and this is the toned down version, right? Like here we go. Okay, so basically they did the numbers. There's been a lot of math lately, a lot of math coming out of the OSR corners, and let's use the OSR's math. I've seen this on like 3 different OSR channels, right? They're like, hey, and this is so great. I love this. So 2021, D&D 5e D&D 5e creators made $1 billion. Every OSR and indie Kickstarter combined in 2021 made 10 million. That's 1%. So there you go. Yeah, maybe. So one reason why the OSR is meeting their quota for Dungeon Masters is that they literally are 1% of the demand of what's happening on D&D 5e. Right? So there's not much demand to meet for OSR because very few people are interested in Dungeons and Dragons. And that's what OSR is. It's like, it's kind of like D&D. It's a copy of D&D. Can we get you more excited about this copy than the original? And everybody's like, no, thank you. I know what a counterfeit is. I'm an American, right? Like, I know what an off-brand is. Like, like I know what Norkeys are. Why is the swoosh upside down, right? So one reason the OSR, and sorry, maybe I was poking fun a little bit there. Sorry. So one reason why you're meeting demand is there's no demand, right? It's like literally 1% of the demand for D&D 5e. Here's the second one, right? So what is the what are most OSR agents? What are most OSR champions? And Ben is an exception to this, but at the 51% level, OSR agents are generally based men, right? Oh, I want to complain about woke, right? And they're right. There's D&D 5e at the macro level is woke. There's a lot of based in it, and there's more based in it every day. But at the 51% level, they're right. D&D 5e is woke. No two ways about it, right? Take a look at the full page picture in Strixhaven. That's pretty woke, right? So basically. So what's interesting is if you got a bunch of based men who are like, look at those snowflakes over there, right? But the reality is, Ben from Questing Beast, he showed the irony of it, right? What really the OSR is, and the reason why they're meeting their quota, is all these based men are like, if I D&D 5e, I have to be a reference guide. I have to be an epic storyteller, and the expectation is that I'm a reference guide. I'm a reference book. The expectation is that I'm an epic storyteller, and the expectation is that I can help people, right? Like I can help them put more score points up next year, right? Those are high expectations. And here's the kicker: the OSR has become a sanctuary for snowflake DMs. But snowflake DMs aren't Gen Zs and millennials running D&D 5e. The snowflake dungeon masters are the OSR dungeon masters, right? Who are like, you expect me to know the rules really well? You expect me to be an epic storyteller? And you actually expect me that, like, maybe after the game, you're going to talk to me about a problem and I'm going to give a life answer because I have more experience than you, right? And they're like, no, man, no. OSR is a sanctuary for the snowflake dungeon masters. What's surprising and shocking is the snowflake dungeon masters are not where you would expect them. They're not the Gen Zs and the millennials and the Gen Xers and a few of the other generations who are like, yeah, I'm going to meet the expectation. D&D 5e dungeon masters are like, I see that expectation, I'm going to meet it. Right? And OSR has become a sanctuary for snowflake dungeon masters who want to dodge expectations. And the thing that's shocking, and I think that surprised everybody, and why everybody was on Ben's video, linked below, right, is he showed the truth of it. The snowflake dungeon masters are the based men running OSR, not the Gen Zs and Gen Xers and millennials and even boomers who are saying, yes, I'm going to run headlong in expectation. That's incredible. That is incredible. Nobody expected us to land here. So that's my toned down version. Did I nail it? Was that a little more calm and fair to the OSR? I think so, right? All that's my humble opinion, and me saying it nicely, because I had done the same video and it wasn't as nice, right? And as always, every word's my humble opinion. I'm ready to hear yours now. And also, here's proof, right? Gibson said, hey, you're rolling too hard. I shelved 2 videos. Here's the nicer versions. Gibson, you can let me know if this is successful or not. All that's my humble opinion. I'm eager to hear yours. Please consider subscribing. Have a wonderful millennium.